Welcome to a Sunday. We are going to talk about some changes that happened in the CircuitPython extension for Visual Studio Code, and a bug that is currently unfixed, but we can fix it fairly straightforward. To begin with, when you install CircuitPython, I'm just going to bring my code window up here. I forgot to load it. $190. So just wait for all this to catch up to itself. And remote net, blah, 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 blah. CircuitPython. So the problem stems from this version right here, 0.2.0. When you clean install it, it won't work, simply because it's missing one file. There are a couple of ways to fix this, and I'm going to go through it. But first, we're going to purge CircuitPython out of here. So we'll say I'll uninstall it. But I don't believe that actually removes it from the drive. I want it so clean that we don't see it. So global storage extensions. So we can see here in our VS Code extensions, we still have Joe Vivio's extension, CircuitPython. So rm minus rf Joe d star. So now it's gone here. Now I discovered something, LED J star. So it's gone. I discovered something else. It's actually stored in another place. There's another subdirectory for some extra parts. Mainly, I think, the bundle expansion and stuff. So you have to actually go to .config code user global storage. And when you do that, you'll see there is another Joe here. Now, I found that if you purged it from one side and you didn't purge this one, there was a chance that when you installed a new copy, it never will work because this one was somehow interfering. So we're going to remove this one too. Joe. So now in this directory, we should not have Joe exist either. So once this is all gone and we go back to our, get rid of this. Go back to our code here and just reload the whole thing. So I exited out and I load it all back up again. It should complain that we unloaded an extension under its nose, right? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it's not whining. So as we stand right now, we do not have CircuitPython in here at all. It's completely missing. So we go here. And when we install it, it's going to put in 020 for us. Okay. Now, I have hooked up a Raspberry Pi Pico with CircuitPython. This is just to mount the CircuitPy drive and stuff like this. So if we go back up to here and we open a folder, actually I'm going to make sure that that particular drive does not have a workspace file or anything like that. And I'm just going to take them out. Like so. So this should be like a virgin drive, like I mean when you actually first put CircuitPython on. So now we go up here and we say open a folder. Actually, we don't. Where's my open folder? Ah, it moved over here. And we open up CircuitPython and we say OK. It says downloading a bundle and everything. But I think if we choose board, See, this is the weird thing. This sometimes doesn't work and this sometimes does work. Okay? In this case, it looks like the metadata.json file is in place. And I can check for that by looking at, no, not this guy here, extensions here. So if we cd into Joe, we cd into boards, it's actually there. I wonder if he subtly fixed it. But it used to be that metadata.json file was missing. And what you could do is, first of all, install the previous version and steal the file and put it in here. And it would fix the error where it says, I can't find any boards, I can't open the lib, I can't do anything properly. Okay? Now, the other way to fix this problem is to build, of course, the stubs and boards itself from downloading his package. Now, I'm just going to go to his Git here. Yeah, I have to find it first. There he is. Yeah, I don't even see on his, but we need the to be able to do a git clone here anyway. So I'm going to just copy it here. So over here, and this is what we would normally do. cd into work problem, and we would say paste home git clone to that guy. Okay, so normally we would go into here. Normally we'd go into scripts. And if we looked at scripts and the stubs thing, we'd see these commands at the top here. Git clone, git submodule, blah, blah, blah. Now, this part right here has all changed. So the way you build CircuitPython is done differently now, which changes this, which if you don't fix this or fix the script, it's going to cause stubs not to be built. In fact, it'll board out and only some of the stubs will be being built. So what we first have to do now is get a new, I've already modified one and I've kept a copy of it. So what we're going to do here is just move this build stubs to build stubs.1, and we'll cp in our replacement. Okay, if we look at our replacement file for doing this, we see things are a little different up here. So we're going to git clone the CircuitPython Git. Okay, we are going to specifically pick a version, because if you don't pick a version now, you end up in beta land, and we don't want to be in beta land, right? And then we'll actually do a make command instead of these git submodules, because they changed it to using make to do everything. Now I'm going to manually do these steps up here so that we can actually see what's going on. So in my problem directory, so we are going to run these commands. So first our command is going to be git clone the CircuitPython. Now it's a fairly big tree, so you have to be patient. Dum 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 dum. Get those hamsters going. Now, I believe in Windows that .config directory equivalent is buried in the roaming profile tree, those three special directories where Microsoft stores settings for things. I don't know exactly where it is. I haven't hunted it down. And of course, on the Mac, I have no idea where it is at the moment. But we've cloned our CircuitPython, so we go into it, and there it is. So first thing we have to do is set our version. So let's check out 905. So what we're doing is just setting the branch to 905. There we go. Now what we want to do is instead of doing get submodules, we're going to do a make fetch all submodules. Now the reason for this is not only does it go get the submodules, but it gets an element in CircuitPython called the frozen. And the frozen is certain libs and stuff like that that are actually put into the firmware and don't change. So there's libs like these. You see all these ones being built here are kind of outside of the firmware. And then there's going to be ones inside the firmware, and they're called frozens. And what was happening before when he did his Git submodules, he wasn't taking into account the way they were handling frozen. And you can see that in the tree here, frozen, 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 frozen. Yeah. So the problem was it would puke out because it couldn't find certain parts, and it would not complete the build, and it would jump to the next stage, building boards. And when you actually ran it, you had a whole bunch of IntelliSense problems because it wasn't finding anything correctly. Now, of course, this will um, go only as fast as whatever your internet is and or the system you're building on. It's not bad on this system. My home internet is fairly okay. It's not perfect. I mean, I'm not getting the advertised out of it, but who does on cable modem? I mean, now this part here is doing what they call the deltas. Um, and it'll hit a couple of them that are really big, and it looks like it'll be stuck, right? But it isn't. And that mainly is the Raspberry Pi SDK stuff. So when it hits those Raspberry Pi SDKs, it'll look like it's stuck, but it really isn't. It's just taking a sweet old time doing it all. There's the SAMD one, which is fairly big. Come on. There's the Raspberry Pi stuff. But you can see down there, compressing objects 3,981, where the average objects was like 36 or 6 or 300 or so. So it's now there's even a bigger one right here, 7,533 objects, right? So these are really big sections of this whole thing. This is also why it's important not to take the beta, because then your stubs and boards will be based on future that's not might be not actually running on your board. ESP camera. Yeah, in theory now, you should be able to those little was it 8266 ESP boards with the cameras on them. They now actually have a way of doing CircuitPython on them and driving the camera too. Yeah, it's starting to get hot around here. I might have to actually whip the fan out soon. 29,000 objects. And that's the Raspberry STK. It's the biggest one I've seen in the whole tree that takes the longest to come down and put together. This is where it's like watching paint dry. Now, the instructions for doing all this are actually, let's see, I can flip over here. No, we don't want to. Give me 1 sec to actually point it to the right Chrome. There we go. If we look here, so this page here, building CircuitPython. So if you, this is the instructions basically you follow to do all this. Now we're not actually building CircuitPython. We're just prepping the tree so that the script here from him can actually put together stubs and boards. You don't actually have to go past and do all this part unless you plan to make the UF2 files. It's not really needed. This is where we checked out a specific version. Now they talk about the fetch modules here. Now this is where they tell you that you're going to run a make file instead. So this is an important page to pay attention to, right? Because this really talks about how getting this tree ready. Come on, Raspberry Pi, you can do it. So since we don't want our minds turn into marshmallows, I am going just to pause the video, wait for this to finish, and then I'll continue again. Okay, we passed the Raspberry Pi SDK, and we're down into the S's here. And it's not too much farther for it to finish. So let's flip over there. SI Labs is the it's another big chip family. What is it? STMs? Is it STM or SIL? STM will be another big one. There's the STM stuff. But it goes through fairly quickly now. There we go. So now we're finished the prepping of the tree. Now, when I go and run that script, it would have done this all over again. So I'm just going to move my work. So we're going to move circ into VS Code because this is exactly what it's going to do anyway. It's going to create that tree. So we go into VS Code, right? And it would have git cloned that CircuitPython. It would have done all those steps anyway. So let's go into scripts and let us run that one. Now that's fine. That just means that it can't create it. So it's making sure that it can do everything, and all the subsections of the CircuitPython, Python tools needed to do all this is all in place correctly. That's what all the building is stuff. But there you go. It's going to do make the stubs. Now, the interesting thing about this, I look at this code and I see all these warning about missing things. You know, you'd think that the coders would clean up a little bit and not have those warnings. And there we go. So it is actually built now, all our stubs and boards. The bottom is the actual boards thing. And higher up here, let's see if I can scroll a little faster. See, adding board. There, it's making all the stubs. You can see all the stubs being built. But this time, there's no error. It's not failing on making anything because the frozens are all in place correctly. And now when we back up out of scripts, we can see that we have a boards directory and a stubs directory. So we want to clean up our Visual Studio Code so that we have the new copy in place. So we'll go over here and we'll back up. And I will go down to VS Code. It's around here somewhere. Vim. Okay, where's my VS Code? There it is. So we go into extensions and we go into Joe 20. And this one, Control T, tag it, Control T, tag it, and we'll get rid of them. Now, before I just clean this out, I'm going to just close CircuitPython, this guy here, so we don't be nasty about it. Okay, come back over here, grab the new boards, grab the new stubs. Now they're over there. Now, if we look into boards, there's our metadata, what we're interested in. Oops. For some reason, F10 is not mapped correctly. Command. Where is it? Exit. There we go. So I have to look into that. For some reason, KD Neon remapped F10 for some stupid reason to something else. I've had to do this before at work and fix where the F10 mapping was. But anyway, boards and stubs are in place. Let's start our code again. Okay. So we have a Pico on here, and we haven't set the board yet. By the way, all this, I was looking into the Visual Studio Code extension itself. This is because there's a JSON file that is built by him that contains a PID, a vid, a manufacturer, and a name for every board. Problem is, not all boards, when you bring down the information from CircuitPython, have a manufacturer and a name in it, and not all of them have a PID and a VID. Instead, they have a fake PID and a fake VID, because they're usually boards that don't have USB support. They might have a USB connector on them, but that's just strictly for power, right? They don't actually have a chip to interface. So this is why you get all these ones in here like this. Okay? That are all that sort of thing. I was looking into writing some code to actually parse that and get this out of the header file, because in the header file was the board name and a manufacturer. And then putting those into the thing, and then this would get populated properly. But in the meantime, it doesn't. So Pico, and I happen to have this ordinary Pico, not the Wi-Fi Pico. So now downstairs we have, well, behind my picture here, we have the Pico set up, and all the modules, those NeoPixel board. So the IntelliSense is all working correctly. And if we look into VS Code settings JSON, we see this is all set up correctly. This is all. But this is not, because this particular Pico sitting on my desk is out of date. Right? So I'm just going to close CircuitPython just for a sec. Sorry, I mean Visual Studio Code. And I'm going to do a circup on... actually, we want Control R pip updating CircuitPython. And pip needs an upgrade too. There we go. So pip and circup are updated. So if we do a circup, they've added some new stuff to circup that is really nice. So one of them, if you have one of those microcontrollers that actually doesn't have a USB drive, but you want to push something to it, it now accepts things like this, host name or IP address of the device. So this is for the web workflows stuff. And someone else in another Git project was working on a extension to give you the web workflow interface inside of Visual Studio Code. So in our case, we want to update. Okay. Oh, interesting. We'll have to talk to Foamy Guy. What the heck is doing 7 MPY in there? But I suspect what's wrong on here too is that the firmware is out of date. So let's do a firmware update on the Pico itself too, just to bring it all up to date. What we need is downloads here, and let's go find Pico. There's our Pico. We have this one, not the other one. So 905, let's download the UF2 file. Okay, like so. And controllers, so let's see, Raspberry Pi 0W0W, RPI Pico, that's the one. So save in here. So next thing we need is to dismount this. Safely remove. And what we want to do is hold down our little button here and plug it back in. There, RPI, that's the one we want. Mount. Okay, so in our little file explorer here, We want work Pico. No. We want, where's my work key directory? There. So controllers, uh, Pico, CircuitPython. And we want to copy this. And we want to send it to that. And we want to paste it here. Like so. Okay, this will reboot. We don't need that folder. And I got the right one. The reason you're seeing two CircuitPys is because I also have the macro pad over here doing the video stuff. So we can do another CircuitPy update all just to check. There we go. So now we've updated it. So let's bring our studio back up again. Okay, let's look at our code. And we're good. Everything's running correctly. If we do an F1 for libraries, show available libraries, there's the libraries installed. There's the potential libraries we could install. So the pick list is good. Everything seems to be working. And that's the fix for this stupid little error. Yeah, so you're going to have to watch out for is the script needs to be modified. Now I'm going to just bring the script up in the editor here. File open. Yeah, let's see. I need to open a file. Save all, close all editors. Where's the file? Open a file. Why are you always bumping the screen over here? So we're going to open that script file up in here. So work, problem, open. Okay. So the section you want to modify now is this section right here. You're going to comment out these get submodule things, or you can just remove the lines. And you're going to add and change these lines like this. So we already had a CD into CircuitPython, but the clone line we're changing. We're specifically setting our version, and then we're running a make fetch all submodules. Right? This makes the whole process longer, but it's complete. Everything is good. Now, I've been trying to work on fixing some of these issues within the extension, but I don't know TrueScript. So I have to learn how to do it. Neat thing is you can actually bring this extension into Visual Studio Code itself, but you have to change your environment for, instead of running CircuitPython or CC++ or Platform.io or ESP EDF, you have to change it now to a profile for TrueScript and its related ilk of stuff. And you're going to have to learn, if you want to do this, you have to learn NPM, Yarn, stuff like this to get things going. My big issue with this extension at the moment is it's out of date. There's lots of parts of it that need updating. From an NPM point of view, we're running currently in this Visual Studio Code, and you can check for this yourself. If you go help about, we can see here we're running Node.js 20, and we're using Electron build 29. This particular extension thinks it's still using Node 14 or older. So a lot of the NPM stuff in here is really outdated. And this is what I'm running into. I can update all the NPM modules and stuff. I can achieve a build. I can generate a VSX or whatever the thing for a standalone install of the extension. but it doesn't work. So something is breaking in the build process, even though it says it completes and everything. So that I'm unsure of how to deal with at the moment. I'm still learning. So I'll leave this up for a bit more. So that you can get a snapshot of this. Well, you can always freeze the video at this to make your changes. So that is what I've been doing with the Visual Studio Code extension at the moment. Now, he hasn't done much with the extension. If we go back to the web page here and I go find his Git page on this here, and you look down, you can see a lot of 6 months ago, 6 months ago, 6 months ago stuff, right? So I'm not sure what's going on, right? He's on hiatus. So activities, I think if you click activity here, yeah, I'm not 100% sure. So that's weird. I find the activity. 13 watching, 13 forks. $10 months, 9 months, 3 months last year, 6 months last year, 3 years last month. Well, that's interesting. I should check this one out. This looks like someone who's done some work on this. So he is. I might actually pull this one down and see how that works. So what has he done actually here? Upgraded dependencies, fixed version info for .py files. I mean, I would have to run an npm comparison and see what he's done. So he's done a bunch of fixes and stuff like that. This is interesting. I didn't realize this was here. I'll have to actually have a look at this. But in the meantime, so I'm just going to close the studio project and file close folder. Don't need it open. And take this. Oh, it's still mounted. Let's not be messy about this. Safely remove. There. Now, for the latter half here, latter bit here, I do have a few items from AliExpress that we can go through. But just to be warned, a little bit of financial crunch. I will not be getting anything from AliExpress for Adafruit for quite some time. So this, and this. Now, what these are is what they call ultra wideband proximity thingies, scanning the room type idea. It's supposed to be for very, very accurate positioning of things in a room. So this one is based off this chip here, the BNTBU01. and an ESP controller, like a microcontroller. And there is extensive documentation from them on their site for programming for this. And then the other one here is what's called a Challenger. And the Challenger is based on a UWB-17 or something like that. It's a different one, and it uses our Raspberry Pi, and it's a feather format. So I haven't gotten into this one yet, but it was kind of for a project to see if we can figure out where certain things are in a room really accurately. So, but I must warn you, if you want to look into stuff like this is not cheap. One of these controllers is, I think the red one is $55 a pop, and the Challenger is like $70 a pop. So, do I have an extra bucket here? No, I don't. Well, technically I do, but... Cables, cables, cables. So I'll put this in here for a moment. And I have this, which I don't even remember what it is. There are two things in here. So let's have a looky. Oh, yes. So these are those radar things, but done differently. I was hoping to have better control of them. So the one is programmed for, what would they say? Motion detection, and the other one is detected distance detection. One's rigged for distance, one's rigged for motion. So I just Adafruit would do one of those HK modules like that, and then interface it to an I2C. So this is from a third party. It was supposed to be the Expressive / Zigbee controller board. So this thing right here. So there's actually two. Whoops. There's actually two expressives on it, and a bunch of stuff. And it was supposed to come with an Ethernet port, but for some reason they sent me this. A basic controller. So they sent me a ESP32S2 Mini, basically, on a board. It's not what I asked for. So they got it wrong. I actually don't need this box. It's just a waste of space. Now this is from the actual Expressive store. What we have here is the Ethernet module for that board. So we have two of them, like so. And a second Zigbee board. So this thing right there. Now, I don't think there was anything else in here. Nope. Now, there was another item supposed to come, and this is the second try getting this item. It looks like it'll be a no show again. And that was, go to here and we go to, no, go away. Go here to AliExpress. And just a sec, I gotta do super secret things that you don't want to know about. There we go. So in my orders here was this item right here. So it was a pair of these and a pair of these, but it looks like they're not showing up. So if we go to tracking here, which is here, leaving from departure country region, it should be here in Canada by now, and it's not. So, oh look. So I might end up having after the 8 days, I'll trigger a um, the refund process and get it all back again anyway. So that is it. If you want to see what I don't know if I have this on this hard drive. I'm pretty sure I might, but let's see. Where did I put that? Did I put it in problem? Or did I put it in there? No, I didn't. So if we make a directory called, I'll call it VSC extensions, like so. This is what I did on my VM. And then we go Control R, git clone, not that one. Control R, git, Control R, Control R, Control R, Control R, dot, like so. We'll get another copy of this untouched. And then if we go to Visual Studio Code, we change our profile here. I'm just going to put it on default for the moment because I haven't built the TrueScript profile. Yeah, it's doing some updates. Restart. It keeps a separate set of extension modules for every single profile you do. So if we go now and say open folder, and I don't know what it is. This dialog box has changed. I don't like this tree version that they've done. It's annoying. VS extensions, code, okay. Yeah, I completely distrust this. Now, I might do some suggestions, yes. So we'll install the suggestions. So then we can go to here and we can go to profiles and say, create a profile, and we'll call it true type, TS script, true type script, true type, no, it's TypeScript. Like so, copy from default, like so, and create. Okay. So I'm just going to clean up the general one again. Here, profiles, back to default. And Let's just widen this a little bit here so we can read. I don't need this. I don't need this. Dockers, editor config for ESLint. We don't need this. Uninstall from here. We don't need Jupyter. We don't need this. Oh, it belongs to Cortex. Okay, disable. Disable. We can leave that in. Remotes, RTOS views, TypeScript Webpack, uninstall. Yeah, that should do it. So, of course, we have to do a restart. Come on, guys. There we go. So now the generic one, the default, is pruned back a bit, so we don't include a bunch of shit. Ideally, what I should go through here is remove all the stuff and just make it really basic, because we don't need CMake and stuff like that in default, or the C++ or anything like that. Can we uninstall you? Oh, that's where it's coming from. Okay. It's something I'm going to have to look at. Now we'll go back to TypeScript. And we look at the thing. So there's the extension, by the way, right? This is the copy just grabbed from his site, right? Now, some of the problems in it are like when you look at this guy here, this version of Yarn is actually not the standard version of Yarn, and it's not the newest version of Yarn. So that's kind of wrong. When we go to, is it ESLint? No. Git ignore? No. Tool versions? Yeah, so node 14.16. We're up to 20. So that's wrong. I don't know what he's doing here. Now there's a package.json file, for example, and if you scroll down to where this is the packages, right here, the dependencies, you can look at this and see things that are really out of date. And then on the dependencies, for example, this guy is way newer, right? And I was hitting an issue where corruption was occurring because it wasn't unbundling the bundles correctly. It was actually truncating text files, which wasn't a good idea. What it did, it made IntelliSense go nutso. So, and this is what I'm working on, trying to fix all this crap, right? And it's tricky because you gotta have an environment with the right npm, and then the yarn, and then it only works in that particular shell window unless you make it global. Oh, it goes on and on. I'm surprised we have so much npm programmers out there. You'd think it'd go nuts and you want to shoot yourself in the foot. And you can see here, this particular version was built for 185, and we're already at 190.2. We've gone through at least half a dozen, maybe more, a dozen versions of Visual Studio Code. That's why I'm interested in that other one. Maybe I should bring it down and see what he's done. So that is where I'm going to call it. Hopefully I'll get more and figure out more of this and how it works. Maybe I can do some better fixes. I mean, one of them would be nice if I can figure out how to incorporate an option in the thing when you do the F1 thing here, that it could say CircuitPython rebuild stubs and boards. So it actually could do that process for you and put the new set in right? And then you just reload and it'd be fine. That would be really cool, I think, if I can figure out how to do that. So I am going to cut it, and this will be it.